This is the Enduring Minds podcast, part of the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network. Welcome back. I am your host, Evan Birch, and Jason, unfortunately, will not be joining us today, so I will be running solo for this episode. We have an incredible guest on board here, and if you've not already liked, subscribed, commented, anything on all of our episodes, you can do that YouTube, Spotify, everywhere you get your podcasts. That would be greatly appreciated. Helps us get these stories out to the people that need to hear them the most. So I'm going to introduce, first I'll give you a little bit of a rundown on our guest today. His name is Scott Davidson. He is the founder of Living Adaptive. It is a platform that's rooted in resilience, adaptation, and learning how to meet life on its own terms. Through his storytelling, lived experience, and practical reflection, Scott explores what it means to adapt, not as a weakness, but as a form of strength. At its core, Living Adaptive is about meeting hardship without denial, meeting discomfort without avoidance, and learning how to stay present when life doesn't go according to plan. Scott is an adaptive athlete, and I'm not going to give you too much more. I'm just going to bring him on board here, and we're going to get this conversation started.
Yo, what's going on, man?
Scott, my friend, how's it going?
Good. So just so the audience knows, we have a relationship in the past. Few people have impacted me more as an endurance athlete than you. I've relied on you in numerous ways going into my runs, especially my first ultra attempt. And you actually coached my crew to get me through that from afar, from a few thousand miles away.
Yeah, so I'm not going to take full credit for that, though. I mean, we'll get into the story here, but yeah, I mean, we do have a relationship that is very clear, which is why it's odd being on the screen side by side, because we're usually just on FaceTime shooting it. So
yep.
Yeah. So before we kind of get into it, I have a very simple question that I like to ask right off the bat. Who is Scott Davidson?
Yeah, so I'm a father first and foremost of 3 incredible kids. I'm based here in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I'm an endurance athlete. I like to run ultras, just like a lot of your audience, I'm sure, and you. And I happen to be born with birth defects from my face to my feet that required heavy reconstructive surgeries of both the face and the feet, the lower limbs from knee down. So I have birth defects hitting that knee too, and my legs. And now I navigate life in hybrid prosthetic orthotics called the Exosym, and I run in those too.
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't hit on the thing that Jason always hits on when we ask that question. And it usually falls in line with what you said first off. You said family man. You said father. You said husband. Why is that the first thing that comes to mind for you when I ask that question?
You know, I remember something we talked about. When you hit that finish line, are you thinking about what's next? Are you enjoying what's there? What happens at that finish line? You've got this great accomplishment you worked so hard for. For me, it's always, I hope my family knows I did the best with what I got, meaning that I hope my children see that my response to all the adversities that I've been given in this life. And why is that important? Because it's hard to explain in words, but family is the greatest high, the greatest everything that's ever happened in my life. The running stuff is just a side note to realize my potential. And so I always note family first. And you'll see in my lifestyle, I don't post much of my kids on social media for a variety of reasons. But you'll see in my lifestyle, it's gamed around being with them.
Yeah, I think, that's where you and I connected a lot on is family. We both have that in common, which, we talk about, your daughter's going off to university and college, and mine are, just getting into junior high. And I hear in the stories you're telling me, and I'm like, man, I'm not ready for that. I am not ready for that.
Yeah.
But, I know we connect heavily on that. So that's, I think, when we ask that question, we don't know what we're going to get. And a lot of the time, I will say lately, it's been family, which I think is really cool. So,
yeah, I'll note that I'm just back from dropping my daughter at a sorority house, which is crazy. I'm like, I've got one in a sorority, one as a junior in college, and one that's a 10th grader. And it goes so fast, but it's amazing to watch them grow, and what I do love is, like, now that they're older, that middle school years were great, But now that they're older, we go grab coffee together, hang out together. They become kind of your best friends, and that experience alone, that from growing to there, I was reflecting on it. I'm like, as I dropped, Jane off at school, I'm like, damn, I'm losing one of my best friends for a while. Because that's, these are who I lift with, run with occasionally, sometimes, and then hit coffee with and stuff. So it's really tough to see those transitions, but at the same time, those transitions provide, a new chapter. So there's been a new chapters, but it is devastatingly hard to watch them fly the nest.
Yeah, absolutely. So why living adaptive? I've always wondered, I've never asked you, what does that mean to you, both in the sense of your day-to-day life and the
Mhm.
endurance world?
Okay, so here's a long story. Not, I'm going to sum it up though for podcast style. Is we're talking when I started living adaptive. This was over a decade ago, and what was it about? Was me. I was a mess, man. Every day it felt like things were getting worse. My legs were getting worse. I have a face full of hardware. Everything was getting worse. The doctors were never really cool about what my outlooks are. I have a variety of things. They presume I'm an Agent Orange kid, meaning my dad's wartime toxins caused my birth defects. I'm the most common outcome. So a variety of things break down when that happens, and I'm breaking down. And I stopped actually going to my kids' swim meets. These little kids are jumping in the water, swimming, doing awesome. And here I am hiding because I don't want to show my legs anymore. I don't want any more questions. I don't want any more stares. I'm not adapting. I'm just breaking down. And I figured I could stay like this. I could stay like a stay neutral, hide out. We have many good moments together. Or I could go backwards and keep staring at like, what if things were different? What if I did things different? What if we moved to an extremely cold climate and I could put a blanket on myself and hide from the world? Or I could move forward and figure this shit out and find what is the best path for me. And so when living adaptive arose, I was already on a path to this new life, to this better place that I'm in. And I wanted to share those stories that were like me. So I built Living Adaptive to share the stories of the most resilient adaptive individuals on earth, and at the same time, build my own story as a athlete. And so that's how Living Adaptive came.
Yeah, I think it has such a people would automatically think, with you being an adaptive athlete, that living adaptive is very much like about your endurance and all those things. But I actually think it's not really like what you do. It's actually a mindset that you've inhabited, which I think it's one of those pieces that you get to take with you in everything. It's not just when you're showing up at endurance sports. It's when that inevitable thing happens to you in life and it hits you and you're like, how am I going to adapt? And you're like, you know what, you have this muscle that you're now able to flex in a lot of different ways.
Well, I got asked this. It was Paris Spartan Race, ESPN. I was interviewed and they said, what makes the adaptive athlete or para athlete so important? And I said, the adaptive athlete is the human condition magnified. I truly believe this, that if we're lucky to live long enough, we're going to be disabled too. That means when you reach those years, well, what makes us important? Well, you get to witness us hit that wall of disability and figure out how to go through it, over it, or learn to live with it. And you can still live a happy, resilient life. So on the athletic side, that works. Now, if we pull it away from the athletic side, my best downloads were tattoo artists that were like on Ink Masters or AGT, those types of individuals that had nothing to do with sports, but they wanted to see, how do you go up there with, in his words, T-Rex arms in front of a giant audience that is just throwing shit at you, meaning like throwing all kinds of comments, making fun of you, and still get up there and perform and get your art out there. And so like that was the type of stuff we were airing, because everybody's got a mountain. And my mountain happens to be mostly my legs. There's a variety of other things. Somebody else's depression, somebody else's whatever, anxiety, or a loss of a loved one. They're grieving. We all have a mountain to climb. And to summit that mountain, it's the same thing. We got to figure out a way to move forward no matter what.
Yeah, I think we had Zach Friedley on, who I know
Hmm.
quite well as
Hmm.
well too, and
Yep.
we had this discussion as well with regards to the adaptive athlete that has or para athlete that has always been in that world
Yep.
versus the athlete that, let's say they're 25 and they get in a car accident and now they
Oh,
lose a
yeah.
limb. it's a very different mindset because you've never not had it. So you don't know
Right.
what the other side looks like. So
Right.
how, like, maybe just break that down for me from your perspective of like, you've never not known this. So how
Yep.
does that sit with you? And you, like, when you see these other para athletes and other people that were once able bodied, now competing and maybe having a different mindset with it, like, how can you help those para athletes that, or just athletes in general, but I'm going to lean it more towards para athletes. How can you help them understand that mindset of like, okay, it's, you can move forward from this, but it doesn't have to be the thing that breaks you.
I try to focus it this way. So there's two things that I see, or a lot of things I see actually, when it comes to, am I born this way or did I end up this way through illness or trauma or something like that? If you're born this way, you tend to have to go through a really shitty childhood with people just lauding comments at you. Just it's a really tough experience. If you end up, so you have different things you have to navigate. So I talk a lot to the kids. The kids are really in hell. You hit middle school and you've got different looking limbs, you're going to get messed with. You're going to get picked on. Shit, my DMs are full of kids that get beat up for the way they look. And so it's really tough. Then you got the other side where there's the traumatic thing that happened. It's sickness or something. Cancer takes the leg out, or a motorcycle wreck. I have plenty of friends. Like I have a friend, she lost her leg above knee due to a motorcycle accident and lost her husband at the same time. And now we're fast forward years later. Well, what do you tell somebody like that when it comes to this, or like when it comes to regrouping? Well, all our experiences are so different, but the same thing comes down to it. There's a shortcut, meaning that there's a shorter way to get through this process, and that's to figure out what you actually want to do in this brief existence, and then to do something each day to get there. That's the only thing I've noticed that works for every one of these people, whether you're born this way or whether you end up this way, is figure out exactly what do you want to do in this world. Is it you want to build a nonprofit that focuses on outfitting kids with prosthetic legs? Do you want to be the best runner on earth? That's for somebody like you. That's me. I want to do that. That's one of the things. And advocacy. Then you better start thinking about ways to get that done. By having that distraction or that focus, that spends less time on worrying about me. Who am I? What, like, woe is me all the time, and moving forward to what greater good can I get involved in? And that seems to remove that sorrow. It's really tough though. That first period of grieving, of loss, like even if you're born this way, each year it could get worse. Each day can get worse. I know so many people like me that amputated their legs and it just doesn't work anyways. And so you're in a wheelchair and you cut off your legs, you thought you're going to be running and everything just falls apart. And it doesn't matter. Like everything can go sideways at any given moment. And so it just seems like every time, no matter what, you better get busy doing the things you want to do in this little life that you have right now.
Yeah, you can either run from it or you can learn from it.
Yeah, and it's really hard. The kids are the hardest one. The adults, they're like nowadays there's tons of support. When I was a kid, you had to hide it. It wasn't good. There was no inclusivity. There was none of that stuff. The ADA was passed in 1990. I'm 45 years old. I was 10 years old. There was no such thing as a wheelchair ramp around me. There was nothing like that existed. And we watched the kid crawl up the Capitol steps. And then eventually the people that did that were arrested the next day at the Capitol, some of them. And then we eventually got it passed, I think 9 months later. We're very far behind when it comes to inclusivity. The prosthetics that I wear on my legs are $9K a piece and no insurance covers it. I didn't ask to be born this way. My dad didn't ask for Agent Orange exposure, during Vietnam War, but you got to figure it out still. You got to figure this out because nobody, like when it comes to being on a course with you all, I'm not asking for a heat for myself. I'm not asking for you guys to have a box or anything to check that I'm there. I just want a chance to show up. And you guys are going to blow the doors off me. I watch you guys do it. When I'm on a loop, you loop me 2-3 times before I finish, get that loop done. But I just want to be there and I want to be a part of what you guys are doing. I want to just be part of it. And why do I say it and bring it back to this? It's just like, you got to figure out a way to make it work with what you got right now as you start to improve things.
Yeah, I think the term that popped into my mind while you were talking there was, it's not your fault, as you say, but it's your responsibility because like nobody's coming to do it for you, right?
Yeah, well, I would throw it even further and say, look, There's so many people born like me. I'm one of the most common birth defects on earth, yet they don't have access to anything I have. And here I am on a podcast interview talking about, my next run is a 100 miler. I mean, I'm so privileged and soft in so many ways because here I am based in the United States with access to stuff. Our best para athletes or adaptive athletes have yet to have that prosthetic or orthotic or wheelchair device. And they're sitting out there in maybe Ecuador or some other country waiting for that device to kick our ass. And it's like they don't get the opportunity to do that. And so I'm so lucky to have this chance. And so being that it's there, I'm not going to let it slip away. I lost the ability to really actually run in ninth grade. Around there is when I really felt like it fell apart, and where I couldn't hang with my kids, like my peers in sports. And I could do little things like I could still hang in para races like para Spartan or Spartan race or something like that. But it wasn't at the level that I knew. I just needed something to offset it. Here I get something to offset it. The most expensive hybrid prosthetic orthotics on earth is what I wear on my legs. And I'm lucky I get sponsors to cover it. I run or I cover it myself, through my regular day job. And then I'm not going to be grateful. I'm going to be really happy with what I got. I just feel very lucky each day. I get to talk to you. I got to do the speed project with you. Like who gets to go do stuff like that is born like me? It's like each day I wake up and I realize how lucky I am.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's not how you always felt. I'm
No,
sure
I hated
from
it.
what you've told me that that's not how you've always felt. So maybe let's take it to this area where maybe it's not a kid listening to this podcast episode. Maybe it's a family member. Maybe it's a friend or somebody that they know that because I have kids as well too. So I think this is important to talk about. Like those kids that are going through that and coming up and being bullied and um, maybe looking different or not being able to do the things that their peers are doing. Like maybe walk us through like now that you have where you're sitting today. Yes, it's easy to say, you didn't have these feelings or thoughts when you were that age, but like looking back on it now, like what were you feeling in that moment that you couldn't verbalize that you like just wanted to tell people?
I wanted help. I felt like I couldn't get any help from adults. Teachers were really rough. Coaches were rough. They made fun of me. Like I got picked on. Kids threatened to break my legs. I just wanted help. I wanted somebody to actually say, "You're human. You're not you're not the piece of shit you think you are. That just because you're born this way or because you have these differences or whatever is going on, you're not necessarily less. You actually might turn out to be a very valuable person to this society. They have those sayings like hard times make hard people. Well, you're out there like sure, I get that, but I feel like hard times make compassionate people too. So what I tell people is when they're going through these things, I feel like unfortunately, you're going through these adversities, and maybe you can't make it stop. I couldn't make it stop. I couldn't go beat up the people that were messing with me. I was done if I tried to do that. So what do you do now? Well, I look at it this way. I learned a lot from the situations. I learned that compassion over bullying and all that stuff that was going on. And I realized that maybe through these adversities, I'm a lot stronger than I thought I was, that maybe I'm not just this crippled guy with skinny ass, limb different legs with a deformed face at the time and all. It's still like maybe I'm just not that person. Maybe I'm actually somebody that has a lot of potential, that went through a lot of stuff, that could teach the world about what went on with me and what worked for me. And so what worked for me is kind of like what you're seeing play out right now publicly.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, having kids and everything myself and not to compare, the bullying that you probably experienced versus like what I hear my daughter's going through. And like my oldest daughter is like very lean, short kid. Like
Right,
she's
right.
short, one of the shortest in her class. And there's, kids are mean and she gets told like, oh, she's short and she's the smallest and like people will put their arms on top of her head and then when they call her that, she's like, Dad, like what do I say? And I just say you look them dead in the eyes and you say, what's your point?
Yeah.
Because most of
What
the
is
time, those bullies are just looking for attention and they don't actually know why they're doing it themselves. It's likely, I mean, not to say everybody, but it's likely their home situation or otherwise is maybe not the best case scenario either. So it's having that compassion, like you say, to not only, stand up for yourself in those moments, but also understand that it's probably not about you.
Yeah, you know what? I got to look back, like who bullied me? Like what was that? And I did a story for Osprey Packs and the why me, why not me type of thing. You know, typical title, but why did this happen to me, but why not me? Well, it went through a really horrible experience. I'm at like a scout camp as a kid, and I just got destroyed by these older kids. It just didn't stop. And that's where like I kind of vocalized, the idea that yes, this all happened, but what are you going to do with it? What were the pluses that came from these adversities? You might as well pay attention to those instead of paying attention to all the bad shit. Maybe that's a toxic positivity, but it worked for me. And I went back though, and they asked, like, if people are like, what happened to those bullies? Everybody wanted at Reddit. It's like, go after them. And I went back and looked at the people that gave me the hardest times. And unfortunately, some are dead. And then on the other side, a lot of them didn't turn out that great, and then some turned out to be beautiful humans. And I'm friends with them to this day, some of them kind of like casually because we just don't live by each other. But as I go through the process, yeah, it seemed like a lot of hurt people, so they were hurting too. When we look back, we have the benefit of time to see what they posted about on social media. You can see they're pretty beat up individuals. So yeah, I do think there's validity to that. Well, what do you say when they're putting their arm on you and stuff like that? Like, you can't punch everybody in the mouth. That's where it gets tough. And so there's no simple answer. You have these like anti-bullying lectures and people like that talking about it, and they don't live in reality. They don't live in a reality that like, hey, are you going to take it too far? Are people going to be like, chill, relax, like you're going too far, flipping out or something like that? There's no real easy answer except finding ways to really better your position, whatever that is, removing yourself from the situation, bettering yourself with a goal, becoming that athlete you want to become, whatever it is, because those are the things you can control. You can't control if somebody's going to come up and hit you.
Hmm. Yeah. Have you heard the phrase, if you don't heal what hurt you, you'll bleed on people who didn't cut you?
No, that's beautiful though.
And I think that that's, again, all these little things that you hear over the periods of time, they just pop into my head when I'm having these conversations, because I think it's so simple. Like it's like we overcomplicate it and we overthink and we try to intellectualize our way through these things
Right.
instead of just like accepting the fact that sometimes you just have to sit and feel it, and it sucks sometimes. Like there's no doubt about it. Like I I was the kid that had the big head according to the proportions of my body when I was in junior high,
Me too.
and I got this nickname Alien, and I was like, I hated it for so long. I just absolutely just couldn't imagine like how I was going to live with it. So what did I do? The way that I managed the bullying was like I started like making fun of myself and chameleoning my way into these friend groups. So, well, if I just like join with them, then they won't pick on me.
Right, 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 right.
Which
Uh,
again, like it served its purpose until it didn't. And then now I look back and I'm like, how many of those people am I still actually like connected with in a big way? And it's like less than a handful,
yeah, that's how it goes, right?
right?
I just try. When I did play into it. I was considered quite funny, class clown, almost class clown, voted class clown, but I got hall walker, ironically Walker, right? And and so like, I did play into it. Things got a lot easier by high school. I was just a normal kid, definitely acting out, doing things like that, but trying to find my place, find a position for me there. But yeah, that humor side pays off for sure, and playing into it.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, unfortunately, that energy of the bully gets redirected somewhere else, and then you kind of feel bad, but at the same time, you're like, at least it's not me, and that like that's a horrible thing to say, but in that moment, you can't think of like any other way to manage it because you're a kid.
Right,
You
right, right,
don't
right,
know any better in those moments, right?
right.
So I want to talk about the Exosym device. And so the para world, we've had incredible conversations. And you've helped me to understand it in such a unique way. The difference between Blade Runners and those running in this Exosym device. So if you can
Yeah.
maybe touch on two things. So what is the Exosym device and when did you get it? How has it supported you and kind of the evolution of that? And then just the main differences so people can understand between blade running and the Exosym.
Cool. So an exosym, I'll try to throw it up here, is a It's a hybrid between a prosthetic and an orthotic. It actually has a prosthetic leg running in the back of the device. And so this was invented in 2009, actually called the IDEO at Brooke Army Medical Center or hospital down in San Antonio at the Intrepid by Ryan Blanc. And so the idea was we got to stop amputating. Is there a way we can redeploy soldiers? They don't have to amputate. Maybe they can't run, which tended to be the case. They couldn't run really fast or do anything like that, but they could do everything else. And so in comes this device. It controls forces, rotational forces, impacts, redirects it up the cuff here, and then brings it right back down to that bar. I wish I could put it up higher. And
If you stand up, not ask you
yeah,
to
I was gonna say, bring it here. Here we go.
Oh, there we go. We get some calf action.
Yeah, so I get to keep the difference between me and amputees is I get to keep my legs now. We found that people like me, it's a really bad idea to amputate. It just doesn't go well because we have a variety of other things we're comorbid with. And so, but that also came to traumatic injury. Well, what if we don't have to amputate and the complications that come with amputation? What if we can get them walking? So my everyday life is, I think, better than an amputee because I have my limb. I can use it to stabilize at points. I can't really stand in my without device. I can't really walk or something like that well, but with device on I can do all of that. But and then I avoid those big surgeries. So what is the difference between this device and say a prosthetic foot or something like that? It's actually the equivalent of a prosthetic foot, like a actual walking foot, but it's different than a prosthetic running, like a running blade that you see out there. Why is it like a foot? Because it's the same energy return you'll see there, which is minimal to none. The reason why we don't want big energy return is because if that foot plate that goes around my foot, if that foot plate moves too much and then redirects that energy and springs you forward, we're destroying what's left of my foot and both my feet because I wear on both sides. So we're destroying everything. And I really don't have much tissue. I don't really have muscle tissue below knee or anything like that. I'm missing a lot of my tendons and ligaments. Every single joint capsule and tendon was released during reconstructive surgeries, and I'm not fully corrected. And I have big, giant, gaping holes in my feet and things like that, and scar tissue that stretches from toe to above ankle. So there's a lot of damage there. We don't want that to feel. We don't want to feel that, and that's what this device does. It controls any more damage, but in turn, it is incredibly hard to run and walk in. In fact, there's very few of us that have run in these devices far. I've heard there's somebody maybe that did a Tokyo with one on one leg at some point, and I know somebody did New York City Marathon. And after that, there's not many. That includes a lot of operators like Rangers and SEALs and others that have worn these devices. There's thousands of people that are in these devices. And why is it so difficult? Because of that idea of controlling the forces. Whereas a running blade provides a spring. So if you see me, there's a video out there of me running against blade runners at USC track, and and I remember the actual officials are like, "You're nothing like them. You should have your own classification." I'm like, "Yes, we're nothing like each other. This is completely different." Respect to the blade runners, though, they're awesome, and I have so many that I lean into for a lot of advice and things like that, but it's just a different experience. So how much harder is it? How much more difficult is it to run in an Exosym than say a blade? Many times harder. Of course, you got to consider above knee. That comes with complexities too, because there's above knee Exosym users that have to have a whole device up here, and there's above knee amputees. So that's what we're trying to measure. And I've been working with various universities to see how much more difficult it is than running. To give you an idea, even with my disabled legs, even without the ability to ever move my ankle joints and other major joints in my foot, I was still able to get 6 and 7 minute miles at certain points. When I got into an Exosym, I was at like a 16, 17 minute mile to get down. Now I can get fast on treadmill and out there, but that should tell you how much more difficult. We have sub 3 hour Boston runners that can't even do a 14-minute mile. And so like that once they got into it, and they only have one joint damage. So it's really hard to run in, but super rewarding.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, it's such a it's such a unique device. Like you said, there's a few thousand people that are using this device, so it's not like this isn't mainstream. So I appreciate the explanation on it, because I think people need to understand what the difference is.
It's the future. That's what I would say is what I wear on my legs is the future. You will no longer get an ankle replacement. This is what I truly believe in 15 years. You rather just slap this on. It'll be lighter weight than what I have. It's going to be better than what you see. You don't have to do the surgery. You can be out moving again. And it's an exoskeleton. That's why it's called an exosym. The E is for exoskeleton. You see it on spinal cord injuries and things like that, where you see the whole body, but theirs is motorized. Mine's not. That's where it's heading, these exoskeleton devices. And I have friends. I have a friend that was Oscar Pistorius's coach. He's an amputee, and he don't make fun of me because I said Oscar Pistorius. Anyways, he's an amputee, and he moved over to this side of the aisle of orthotics and other stuff because there's just so many more users, because surgeries got better, childhood treatments got better. We're saving limbs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and here I am whining about my ATFL ligament that got destroyed in June, and Scott's telling me that he's got none. Yeah, so
but
yeah,
I'm protected. I'm protected. You are not.
It's perspective, right? It's all perspective based
Well,
on.
for me, I get to offload. You didn't get to offload yours. So respect to you. Respect to all you runners out there.
Yeah, and where do I go with this now? I just want people to understand, like, give me and we've talked about this before, like, how fast do you go through a pair of shoes with this device?
I'm about 2 weeks right now because I'm training. I'm trying to be like you, Evan. I'm trying to train hard, go far. I really am. I want to be like you. I do. And so I'm about 2 weeks right now because my mileage is so high. We're throwing in some stair climber too and some incline treadmill work with weighted vests on these, power walking on those. That really takes a beating on the foam that we have nowadays. So I'm in Brooks Ghost Max because I kept falling a lot in Hoka's and other shoes because they just have such a wide profile. After like a week, the foam gets smashed. So I'm every 2 weeks. It usually, when I'm not in peak training, about every 3 to 4 weeks, I'm good to go.
Yeah. So this is your chance to shoot your shot. For
Yeah.
those that didn't hear that, he runs in Brooks Ghost. So if there's anybody that's listening to this, please support him. I mean, the guy goes through a pair of shoes every 2 weeks because of these devices. And I think that's, we complain about going through a pair of shoes in 500 kilometers, and Scott's destroying a pair in like 150 to 200. So just if you're listening, Brooks, give the man a shot.
Yeah, it's been tough. I forget which runner it was, one of those ultra runners, like, here's my shoe sponsor, and it was his debit card. And I'm like, yeah, I can relate. That's my shoe sponsor right there too, is myself. So it is what it is.
Interact.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So if you want to let people know kind of how, like, what has your running trajectory been like since getting into the Exosym? Like, I know you're a guy who remembers dates and times and all these other things. So, like,
right,
give me the quick rundown of like the year, the distance, and like where you're at now and where you've come from, because I think that's, people need to understand that it's like this delayed gratification piece
right.
is huge. And I think you're just like such an embodiment of that.
Well, my furthest distance before I hit an actual official ultra course was with you, crewing you at the Speed Project. Because if you combine those two legs, I think, like you said, we lost that stuff. So let me jump into actual distances.
It was
I
like
thought
40,
I was done.
40, it was over 40K, I think, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And I just, by the way, that was the most beautiful run I've ever had at nighttime. I'll never forget it. I look at the pictures and I post them on my stories here and there. I posted it on my website. I just remember, man, you're like 200 some miles into this thing, deep 200 miles. And like, here we're going. And I'm like, holy shit, he's doing this. And it was like, and like we could start to see the lights of the strip. I'll never forget that experience. And the dust. And I don't know if you remember the train going and sparks everywhere. And then I look to the right side and there's nothing. And then boom, we're on like this weird side road because you can't take any main roads, and a giant truck flies by. And just everything was just kind of out there, surreal, but so beautiful. I just felt really connected. It was an amazing experience. So anyways, here we go. Like around 21, 22, I thought I wasn't going to run again. I thought I was going to go to wheelchairs and I was going to be an awesome chair athlete. I was going to do my best from there. And then I go up and get some prosthetic or dynamic AFOs. They fail. They fail multiple times, dumping a ton of money into it. And I'm like, well, that's where I'm going to go. I'm not doing any more surgeries. And if that doesn't work, we're going to the chair. And then I throw a Hail Mary. I watch like Running on the Sun, Badwater, things like that. And I'm like, I'm going to do this. I don't even tell people I'm going to do an ultra. I just say, I think this will work. And at this point, I can't even do 1 mile. I can't even do that. I go up and get the Exosym, and I think it's failing. I think it's going to be another failure like the others. And so I get it. And my prosthetist, Ryan Blanc's like, you need to stop wasting this opportunity. And he sat down with me in a clinic and we worked together. He shut down everything and just worked with me. In comes, here's how the distances went. From there, I had 6 weeks to get ready to run on a para team for Hood to Coast. I just agreed to it. And so I do that, and I do like 3 legs of 17 miles, whatever. It's not a big deal. In comes now, I stay silent and go from 5, I start doing 5Ks, work up to a half marathon on my own. And then comes you, where you're like, do you want to do the speed project? Because I'm training. And I'm like, yeah, I would love to crew you. And I work with you, and then we eventually make it to 2024. A lot of training. I mean, a tremendous amount of training to learn to walk and run in a whole different way, and to do everything. In 2024, I finally hit a 50K right after you, about a month and a half or so after you were out here. Then I go down and attempt a 50 miler. I fail. I get like 45 miles. And then I'm like, I can do this again. So come around to 25, like 3 months later, I get the 50 miler and I don't feel any issue at all. Then come November, because I need a new right side Exosym, which takes a lot of training, a lot of falling, a lot of injuries. I hit the 100K. Now I'm up for a 100 miler in February 20th, I think, or 21st at Jackpot Ultra. I'll try that. And when that's done, I hope to be at the Badwater course, because I'm never going to get an invite there, because I'm never going to get those qualification runs. I think that my body will probably break there. So I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to solo it with a small crew under the same rules that my friends like Chris Moon and all those other runners that were amputees back in the day were doing it, meaning that I'm going to follow those guidelines and hit the course not at nighttime, hit it in the morning, and try to get it done. And it's something I've been dreaming about forever.
Yeah, I want that to sink in for people, that like the no quit in you is something that I think we connected on right away. Just we have similar mentality when it comes to that.
Yep.
I'm not going to quit unless there's like some catastrophic failure or something where I'm just like, this is going to cause long-term damage.
Right.
And I think the mindset aspect to be able to get to that point, it takes repetition and it takes time. It's not something that you're just born with. I think it's one of these things. It's a muscle, just like we train, just like we do everything else. And if you're not actively putting yourself into discomfort and accepting the fact that like a failure doesn't mean anything bad, it's learning, it's information, it's all things that you get to take with you, and whether you use them or not is up to you. But that's what I hear in all this, is just that that no quit mentality of like, I'm going to use what I've been given as long as I possibly can.
Yep. We go to the wheels go off. People say, what are you doing? I said, I'm going to find out how far someone like me can go. And I want to do the world's toughest foot race. I'm not necessarily saying it's tougher than some other ultra, but it's pretty damn tough, the Badwater. And I just want to do it because I want to say, like, I took my greatest weakness and made it my greatest power. And that to me was the response. We go back to family. That's the response I want to leave with my children. The legacy I want to leave to them, because it will be forgotten after them, and probably, or after my grandchildren or something. But the legacy is that he was given some tough cards, but did his best and turned those tough cards into his greatest strength. And so why is running the thing? Because it's the hardest thing for me.
Yeah. And what I hear in all of this as well too is you're not coming from this place of like, I'm going to prove people wrong, or, because this happened to me, like I'm a hard ass. Like, you're
Mm-mm.
humble about it. You love what you're doing. And like curiosity is the driver, is what I get from everything that you're attempting. It's not a matter of, what time am I going to get or how fast am I going to go? It's literally just the curious nature of like, what am I capable of with what I have, and what can I show other people who, like you said, 15 years from now, there's going to be more people wearing devices similar to this. Like,
Yep.
you're paving the way for people to understand like what is capable, and like setting a line here, and you're just like, come and get it and pass my line. And I would love to see somebody pass my line, but like, you're setting the bar right now.
It sounds messed up, but like, Well, first I'll say this. I don't have an ego. I know who I am. I know that when I'm posting, I've gotten, man, there's one messed up. Shit, fuck, I hate even talking about this one, but I remember I'm like just on Instagram, I'm happy and I'm posting about my story, and parents especially are supportive because they've got this little child and they're worried. And I'm like, it can be okay if it's up to you. If you think it's a big problem, your kid's gonna think it's a big problem. If you think this is might be a blessing, then maybe your kid will too. But then I get a direct message from a lady from another part of the world where she's already been shamed because she has a kid that's going to be born like me. She's already been shamed and told that it's her fault. She didn't do anything wrong. But then she came back to me and said, I don't think your life is really worth living. I don't know that my kid is going to have a good life. And this wasn't the first time I've heard this, but the way she said it was ruthless. Like, you you're not even human, Scott. You're just nothing. And I just remember just sitting there like, fuck. Like, is she right? Like, is am I just fooling myself or some shit that this is good or this has turned out to be okay? And so like, as much as people think like here comes another David Goggins shit, it's nothing like that. It's
Mm.
like it's the opposite of that. It's like I'm a Mister Rogers guy. I'm not the other side. By the way, I'm mad at my mom for not getting me on the show because we live in Pittsburgh. I grew up in Pittsburgh. Like, you can't bring me down to Mister Rogers for a sec. They definitely would have put me on. Anyways, we would have played the cripple card. But the point being is like any given moment, like somebody puts me in check anyway. So as much as I feel like I'm great, I get put in check. I'm going to get put in check on Jackpot Ultra as a bunch of people just loop me over and over, and my cripple ass is now walking. And it's just like I understand where I stand. So at all times, no, it's never like to prove the world wrong. It's to prove to myself in a lot of ways that I'm worth it. And I don't know if I'll ever know if I'm worth it fully. I'm just being real. I don't know. And but I feel like I am right now. But there's a lot of times where I feel really inadequate.
Yeah, and I think we all feel like that sometimes. I mean, my yeah, I can relate fully to that feeling of that inadequacy piece because again, me going through what I went through with all my mental health stuff the last 3 years, and you know, I struggle with the thought of you know why wasn't I strong enough to just like get through it, and like why did I have to leave that job, like why wasn't I strong enough, all those things that like, and they're all like useless negative thoughts that serve no purpose whatsoever. And I mean it's like in the ultra world where I say like you need to be asking questions and not making statements,
Yeah.
because the answers are in the questions, not the statements. The statements are what buries you and will like just that, and that's why people spiral. That's depression. That's anxiety. That's all those things that take you away from like where you're meant to be. And um, like you were talking about, you were born with these things, and you at some point in your adult life had like you had to make a choice. You like the what's the yeah that's the quote. So Carl Jung, I don't know if he's like
Oh yeah.
so the phrase "you are what you choose to become," and that's the way that I've seen my mental health diagnosis. I refuse, and some people might question, just like in your world, like some people might question, like how does he have this mindset to just like be okay with this? Like that would destroy me. And me, like with PTSD, depression, anxiety, I see so many individuals that are just like it just has them by this like death grip.
Right.
And I've never seen the diagnosis of what I experienced as like being like me. I now call it like, rather than saying I have PTSD, I say the PTSD, because I'm like I don't want to
Just
associate with it because it's not my identity. It's not who I am. It's something that happened to me and I get to choose how I respond to it. Now I haven't always thought that way. I thought it was like a nail on the coffin, like you're done, sir. But now that I've kind of come through the other side, which and that's the only comparison I can make from my side to a little bit of your experience, and in that is like it's not you. Like what happened to you, like the way you were born, like it's not something that you asked for. but it's something you get to choose and how you respond.
I feel like, I feel, first I'll get into this is that, for one thing is I'll talk about the village that it took to get me here. But second is that I feel like a lot of people see the legs as something dramatic, whereas I see a person that wants to have children but can't, a hardship, and watch them go through that depression, that struggle that's there, or that kid that has that intense OCD or something like that. And I think, man, you're the warrior that I lean into. You're the one that I watch. You're the one that makes me feel like it's okay. And it's, you won't, I hardly listen to any para athlete memoirs. I'm listening to regular people, maybe because we've done those things now. And it's just, but everybody is going through it. That's the human condition, and everybody's going through it. And for me to have this mindset, man, I had a village. I have everything. I have the best prosthetist on earth for somebody like me, Ryan Blanc. I have great coaching. I don't even get that 50K if it wasn't for the help that you brought. I didn't get that 45 or 50 miles because I didn't necessarily have the right coach. But I came to you like a week and we prepped an idea. There's the village. I won't get this, 100-miler without a whole bunch of people there. And then it comes to the mindset. Man, I sat in the books all day trying to figure out what everybody's doing. I share these adaptive stories. It was like I relied on the minds that get me there, and then kindness. And kindness got me to these spots, meaning kind people that are like, you're going to be okay, man. We're going to figure this out, whatever okay is. But like, let's chill out and calm down a little bit and let's go from there. And so I'm not this, man, I'm just not the one that responds to the screaming in the face and let's get this shit going. Because those people that I see that like are like I'm independent, I'm a warrior, I go on it, and I'm like, yeah, as soon as your leg falls off, we'll see. Like as soon as shit hits the fan like that, we'll see. And it's like, no, man, it's okay. You don't have to be that. You don't have to in this life. And so the braveness I see is like those kids that are out there that are navigating somebody picking on them or something like that. And I'm really proud of them. I don't know. I remember Mr. Rogers is so messed up. Here I'm, getting ready. But I remember Mr. Rogers, his last episode. I go back and watch it. I haven't seen him for years. And I'm like, what did he do on his last episode? And he said the idea, or he said the truth, this authenticity of I'm proud of you. And fuck, man, that hit. And I'm like, I am proud of so many people. It hit. Like, I'm proud of people that are out there just trying their best. You don't have to run 100-miler. One of my best buddies has cerebral palsy, and his 1 mile is my 50 miles. And it's like, dude, you put it out there and you tried, and you don't have to do that. But this endurance world gives us an opportunity to do something cool.
Yeah. And I think, that's why I love these conversations on our podcast, because it is understanding that, endurance sports and our health and our mental health and the way that we think and our mindset, there is so intertwined. I mean, you can't run 100 miles unless your mind is in the right place.
Right.
It's not something your body will allow itself to do if you're not able to like get your mind to go along with the choice of doing this, right? So it's such a unique kind of intersection between the two, because you can talk about mental health by itself, you can talk about endurance sports by itself, but I don't think you can have one without the other when you start doing these distances and these events and these things that you're putting yourself into.
That's so true. When I watched you, man, oh my gosh, I can remember you finished the 300 miles. I'm laying in bed, and you're like, hey, can you pick me up? We got to return to RV. I'm like, how the shit is he up already? How the hell is he up? Because I didn't run that. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? And it was just like, yeah, there's that mindset. I tap into it. I watch what you guys do. I watch what you do. I watch what Lance does. I watch what so many others do all the time. I just watch and I just learn that, like you said, you've hit on it throughout this episode, is that it's something you develop. It's not something you're born with. You know what I mean? There's a reason why these people, these military dudes have to go through a lot of training, or these incredible athletes like Cassie has to go through a ton of training to get to the Olympic, to be an Olympic athlete, because you're just not born that way. There takes a lot of development. And I feed off that. I mean, how many times I reached out to, when it came to the bad water, I wanted it forever, and I've watched it and I go, this is ridiculous. I drove out there many times, looked around there, and I'm like, this is fucking bonkers. Like, why would anybody do this? But I'm like, well, I want to do this. And once I finally hit the 50 miler, I go, I think I'm worthy enough to reach out to Marshall Ulrich and Lisa Smith batch and just say, hey, what's up? Could you guys know like the best way of pulling this off solo? And that in turn led to me, prior to that and after that, diving into what they did in their lives, what mindsets, learning from them, things like that, learning from you, and developing me into like, okay, 100K sounds like maybe I can do that, and 100 miler, and each step and each piece. But I don't say I'm going to run Badwater tomorrow. I didn't even get out of the damn car at Badwater this year until like 20, 30 minutes. I'm sitting there. I'm not even supposed to be at this place. And I show up, and I'm like, I got to see this shit in person. I need to see this go down. I sat in a car as one of the first cars there for the first leg that kicked off, or heat or whatever. And I didn't get out of the car. It's 126 degrees, I think. And I'm like, this is crazy. I was so intimidated. Eventually I got out of the car. People were interacting. Everybody was cool. I walked the basin a little bit and just watched it go down and just learned. And that's how I develop is, where I'm at right now is relying on everybody that's has gone where I want to go.
Yeah. And I think the worst somebody's going to say is no, right?
Yeah.
That's the worst thing. Like, that's what people need to understand about all of this stuff. Asking for help, going to the people that have been there before. The worst they're going to say is no, I don't have the time, or just no response.
Yeah,
so
well,
like, it's that's what's going to happen.
And in every case, almost in every single case in the endurance world, everybody's been cool. Maybe the brands have been a little bit rough. I'm not gonna lie to you. I had an easier time with like a car brand than a shoe brand for sure. But they don't owe me anything. You know what I mean? None of them owe me anything. It's just not easy to sell them on who I am. And but like Marshall, awesome. Like, we talk here and there, and Lisa Smith, Batchin, awesome. You I've relied on for way longer. Incredible. Like everybody's been cool about it. And I feel like it's a different community. I said, I'm running, and I said to my wife, what sporting event as you're looping this thing is listening to like folk music and everybody's cool while you're destroying yourself? Like, it's just a weird world. You know what I mean? I don't know. Some shit like Mumford and Sons is playing while you're fucking in mile 55 and your body's breaking down. You're pissing yourself in the later miles, and you're listening to the Lumineers or some shit, and everybody's still cool. Like I do love the endurance world for that.
Yeah. Yeah. So this episode is going to be released a few days before your 100-mile attempt.
Yep.
And I want you to just like sit in this moment right now and like imagine yourself standing at that start line, Jackpot Ultra, getting ready to attempt your 100-miler. Like, what is going through your mind, like when you just think about it right now, like standing on that start line?
Man, going on that start, what would I say? First, I finally hope that I see that I've done enough, even if I don't get it done, that finally I can accept where I'm at, that I've done my best, truly, that I've truly done my best, that whatever plays out from here on out, I can finally say, you did your best, and don't be so hard on yourself. I'm incredibly hard on myself when it comes to this. And I hope that this time when I cross the finish line, I can actually like really enjoy it, if you want the truth.
Yeah, I think I didn't know what I wanted from that question, actually. I just wanted you to think about it for a moment, because I think in these moments where you're not on that start line, like you can think about it from like that kind of like bird's eye view of like observing yourself standing at that start line. And that's the way that I've started to do it myself too, is like, how do you want to feel standing at that start line? It's like, not how do I want to feel during the run? I'm like, I'll sort that out. I know I have the mindset and the tools and all these things capable to like work my way through those things, but like, how do you want to show up? And I think
Yeah.
that like sets the tone for everything from, mile 3 all the way to like mile 90. That sets the tone of like, here's how I'm showing up, and like I'm not deviating from this. So
Yep.
and that's what I hear in it from you.
And in terms of performance, I hope that I come with the same caution I do in the others. Pace yourself appropriately, fuel appropriately, do everything that you're taught to do what I've done in practice the entire time. Stay locked in the entire time. When it goes tough, it always does. It goes sideways. My legs go numb sometimes off, things like that hit. Take a break, sit down, figure it out, regroup, go back out there. There's plenty of time. This one allows plenty of time to figure it out. It's a perfect testing ground for somebody like me. And so go out there and execute and stay in the zone. You'll notice that I never announce my runs when I'm actually doing it, except here and a few other places, because I lack the confidence to say, I'm going to plant this flag and say, I'm going to go kick the shit out of this race or something. I don't have that confidence. I don't know if I'll even like stand up some days. I don't know. And so like I'm a little bit nervous and apprehensive in every single run I do. And so that apprehension has benefits though, because it keeps me calm and it keeps me focused on what's ahead and realizing that 100 miles is really tough. 100K was really tough. All of it's really tough, and approach it in such a way.
Yeah, and I think it's beautiful because so many people do these races and it's, about placing or outcome or podium or how fast can I be or all these other pieces. And I'm like, you're just going like, what am I capable of? And like, Cassie, my wife, and she says it to me all the time when she first met me. She's like, I don't understand why people do these things if they're not trying to if they're not trying to win, like why, like what's the point?
Yeah.
And now if you ask her, she's like, oh, I get it now. It's
Yep.
it's it's not about the outcome. It is who you become through the process of the training and the putting yourself into discomfort and feeling that, and like having like a very human interaction with the world. And I think that's the beauty in it, because we're losing so many places that we can actually do that.
We talked a bit about this. You talked a bit about this whole adventuring side where you can go do these distances and it's not on anybody's course. I'm just going to go do it. And you've coached people to go do it. Your first 100 miler, if I remember, was on your own. You just figure this shit out and you're like, I'm going to go do it. I hope that I can get to a place where I don't need these race companies anymore. I don't need any of it. I just show up and do my run. That's what Badwater is going to be. Marshall's like, that's the purest way or best way to do it. I think he said something like that. It's one of the best ways to do it. And I hope I get into that spot where I don't need to have a ribbon or ribbon medal or a bib or anything like that. I can just hit the clock on or hit the start on my watch and go out and get that 100 miles when I want on my own terms. But right now, people want to see that it is possible to do it. It has to be clocked on these official courses. And I'm like, one day it won't be like that. One day I'll just go do what I want. I'll go pull a Forrest Gump and run my ass to Monument Valley or some shit and not care. I'm looking forward to that day. And I think I'm getting closer. It's our
Yeah.
run, right? This whole thing has been commercialized in a way that like para athletes will look for like, I want a slot. I want something that says my stuff. I'm like, I want something completely different where it's like, we just do it when we do it, when we want to do it. And things like that. But I do get the other side. There's that, you're going to podium, you're running for it, you're doing that type of side. But I really enjoy the side of like, this is an adventure. This is what you're going to find out. And who knows where you're going to go, but we'll figure it out while we go,
Yeah.
and it's getting closer.
Yeah, and it's got to be for you first and foremost, and I think that's
Yep.
from that mental perspective. When you're deep into it, 90 miles, 85 miles, whatever it is, like if you didn't want it to begin with, where
Yeah,
are
it's
you
gone.
where are you gonna pull from? It has to be so like internal focus to be able to pull from something from that well of like, holy shit, like I failed at 50 miles once. I made it. And like, that's the part that I'm going to remember. I'm not going to remember the failure. I'm going to remember that I learned from the failure, and now I'm here, and I'm like, I have this opportunity, and that's what it is. It's an opportunity. That's it's you know I've heard somebody talk about midlife crisis after 40. And I can't remember where I heard it, and somebody was talking about it. It's not a midlife crisis; it's a midlife opportunity. It's a
Right.
chance to like change something and do something different, which I think is a great way to look at it.
Yeah, one of my best friends, he says, finding opportunity in the adversity. That's what I'm doing. I'm finding opportunity in adversity, and so are you, and so is everybody else that's out there. It just seems like everybody's got a story, everybody's got an interesting thing, and eventually, maybe I'll shift to something else once I hit those run goals. Probably not. I'll keep going till the wheels come off. But like, yeah, finding that beautiful spot there, to chase it, and yeah, it's been a journey though. It's been a journey. I never thought I'd be here. I never thought anybody be interviewing me about running. Like, come on, I never thought that would ever happen. And I wanted to hit this home though on a side. People like I talked a lot about all the harshness and all the stuff that happened, but I want people to know that if I could go back in time and change how I was born, I wouldn't. I really believe that. I don't know. I'm a spiritual dude. I don't know where I lie on all this stuff. But I just feel like I'm supposed to be here doing exactly this for me. And if it helps some others, great, but it's helping me and I'm growing as whatever I'm supposed to be. And if I changed how I was born, if I changed those adversities, I'd never be where I'm at. And I don't want adversities. I'm not like begging for adversities, but I'm just doing the best with the ones I have. I
Yeah.
definitely don't want any more. Like, let's stop with that. Like, people are like, "Bring on more, you're gonna learn." No. It's like, come on, chill.
Yeah, no, I'm good. My quote is full.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So we end the show with one question. I started it last episode. Jason liked it, so I'm going to keep going with it until we decide that we're going to do something different. Um, so the question is where is your mind right now?
Yeah, my mind is in a really good spot. I feel powerful in the sense that when it comes to running and things like that, but my mind's also, man, I feel like there's a lot of turmoil in this world right now, and my mind is in a space of compassion and empathy for everything that's going on out there. So, yeah, that's where my mind is. So I guess I'm more of a compassionate runner, and when it comes to this stuff, I mean, I know I lift and throw weights and do all kinds of stuff like that that might seem different, but my mindset is compassion right now. And we're going to work and utilize that compassion to advocate, to bring more mobility to people like me. And then at the same time, let's figure out how far I can go. That's where my mind is.
No, that's awesome. So where can people find you on socials, web pages, the run that's coming up? I know people are going to want to follow along. Sorry, we outed you that the run's a few days out from when we release this, but
It's
yeah,
okay.
drop it here, and maybe you're gonna get some Brooks people looking at it and send you some shoes before maybe.
That'd be beautiful. If you're over 80, I am Scott Davidson on Facebook because it feels like that crowd's gotten really old lately. I'm kidding. That's what I use mostly. And Instagram. Instagram is living_adaptive. Website livingadaptive.com has everything there. And TikTok's been kicking, but I do more advocacy over there. You'll see me talk about disability more on that platform than say Instagram or Facebook because it just works well over there.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, so those that want to follow Scott along, February 20th, Jackpot Ultra, 100 miler, that's in Vegas, right?
Yeah. Yep. And if you
That's
see it say
the
25 miles, I'm probably like actually 70 miles in. So
thing.
don't judge how slow.
So if you're racing Jackpot Ultra and you see Scott on the course, give him a fist bump, give him a high five, whatever you got for him. So thanks, Scott, for being on.
Thank
You're a
you.
good friend of mine. I love you, man. I appreciate
Love you
you.
too.
Yeah, it's been weird being across each other on the podcast, but I know Jason was supposed to be here and wasn't able to be, but who knows? Maybe it was meant to be this way, but that's life, right? So,
Yeah, I feel like it's another life coaching session with Evan because you've
mm,
coached me a lot through these runs, man. And just so the audience knows, it's been an amazing time. You bailed me out when maybe a situation was a little bit tough with prep and stuff like that. So it's been I don't know, a godsend, whatever you want to use for term, to have you. So man, you're the best, and I love you, and I love your family too. And so it's been great. So thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thanks so much, Scott. So for our listeners, again, follow Scott, Jackpot Ultra, coming up in a few days after this is released. And for those that want to hear more of our shows, more of our episodes, please go on YouTube, go on Spotify, drop comments on this episode or any others. And until next time, keep going the distance and breaking the silence together. Thanks, Scott, and thanks everybody for listening.
Yeah, thank you.